and welcome to Power Reflections, a proud member of the Doof Network where we reflect on Wildbow's most reflected work as it releases. I'm Ruben Morehouse.
And for the final time, I'm Elliot Diebold.
Final time, Elliot, what are you talking about?
It is the final time.
What? That was the last chapter? But it ends with, and now we have to carry on. What does that mean? If not, there's going to be another chapter. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah. No, it means sequel time, baby. Yeah. We'll get there. Before we get into stuff, have some housekeeping.
Whoa. Let's not talk about the chapter too quickly. We're going to talk about bullshit for a while first.
I wouldn't classify All Packed Up 2 as bullshit. I mean, well,
I don't know.
There is going to be a lot of bullshit.
There is going to be a fair amount.
But yes, for those of you who don't already know, it is taking place this weekend when you're listening to this. So that is Friday the 20th for most people, or Saturday the 21st for those of us in good time zones.
Yeah.
Specifically, it'll be 7:30 p.m. on Friday Eastern Time, America, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, or in London, I think it's at like midnight or like 12:30 Saturday morning. So
but for those of us in our home country of New South Wales, it's going to be 10:30 a.m. Saturday, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. By the way, if you're in one of those time zones, it's not one of the big four that we just mentioned. As everyone knows, those are the big four time zones. You can find the specific time in your time zone through a link at doofmedia.com/APU2, which is where all the information about All Packed Up 2 is, as featured in Wildbow's Pale's finished little blog post.
Yeah, which was just
we
very
made
exciting.
We're famous. We're famous.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. But yeah, should we get into the final episode?
Well,
I noticed you said on the Discord too. It was weird to write notes for the final episode. I was like, I'm never going to do this again.
It was a very strange experience. Probably even stranger than what it was like for Wildbow writing the final chapter, if I'm being honest.
I mean,
because
I don't know.
It was happening to me, and therefore more real.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
No, before we get into the chapter, though, one final thing is we've got a lot of great submissions for a bunch of the segments that we have planned, which is great. One that we haven't got as many submissions as we like yet is nominations for the Fan Art Awards. We've gotten like 4 to 5 submissions in each category, but we want to have a few more if we can. So if you have fan art that you want to nominate to receive Fan Art Awards for being good fan art, you can head to, as mentioned, doofmedia.com/contribute. doofmedia.com/contribute has the links to nominate fan art for that. That would be wonderful. So
and
do that
any day now. A link will also appear on there for the Familiar Feud survey. So you can be one of the 100 people.
You really got to do that quick, Elliot, if you want to get 100 responses.
No, I'll chuck it on the Discord and that'll help. But yeah,
that'll bolster the numbers. Yeah.
So
anyway, if you want more info on All Packed Up 2, head to doofmedia.com cut that, trim all that out. Anyway, fix it up in post. Yeah, it's actually pretty exciting, isn't it? Like, we've got all kinds of fun things. Wabo has already mentioned a few of the segments that he will be participating for, some of which are incredibly exciting and daunting. We're going to be directly responsible for the community maybe understanding more about the paths, which will be fun.
Yeah, and I mean, we've got a ton of other really fun guest segments. We actually just organized one with Matt and Scott, which I'm quite excited for.
Yep.
So we managed to convince them to come on last minute. So, Jenny and Malia will be making an appearance. The gang's all going to be here.
Now that we mention it, I actually am not seeing that in the schedule, which means I've probably put it in the wrong place. So I have to fix that up quickly. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that are planned. This schedule is crazy. There's actually so many wonderful things that we've got planned. So definitely tune in and see it at, whatever time it is in your time zone. I'm not going to read through all those again.
Yeah. Okay. Should we talk about... I feel like we're procrastinating talking about the final chapter because then it's over.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Let's do it. Let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, wow. So loose ends. E6 from the perspective of Verona and Lucy. Interesting absence, notable absence there, but let's not worry about that. It's
Who
3
needs
years
a third
later.
wheel?
Yeah, exactly. Loser. Go off with an aura, right? You got
still funny.
It's 3 years since the defeat of Charles, and Verona is managing her bookstore and staff.
Yeah, and I think, okay, this is like kind of a nothing point, but I just thought it was interesting. This epilogue chapter, this technically takes place in the future. Like, this is in January 2024, which is just, I don't think that's ever happened before in the Otherverse. I don't think we've ever had the future as a setting. So, which it doesn't mean anything. I just think it's kind of neat.
Yeah, fair enough. It is weird, isn't it, to be in the future? Not sure what to make of it. Do they have flying
we're going to
cars?
catch up.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, we're going to catch up so quickly that like, it's not going to matter. Like, it's not going to be like half of Plex is set before this chapter or something. I mean, actually, I think half of Plex might be, but that's a separate thing. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It was just like, it just kind of caught me off guard because I guess I'm so used to the stories in this universe being kind of like in the present or a bit behind
and then
the present,
quickly falling behind as we realize, wait, all that stuff happened in like 2 months. What the hell?
yeah.
It's interesting. And what insights did you gain from this glimpse into the future?
Don't hang around Toronto in a couple of months. It sounds like Gerhild's going to get caught up in some shit.
To be honest, based on the way these other stories are going, maybe just steer clear of Canada as a whole.
Yeah.
Right?
It seems like a bit of a hellscape.
It's a bit of a tough place to be. But jumping back to the actual content of this story, it is nice. I mean, these epilogues are so nice. In a lot of ways, they're setting up future things and all kinds of bits and bobs, but it is just lovely to have Verona having found such a healthy, balanced life. Like, she's doing what she wants, but she's also kind of building a supportive and healthy community in a very Verona way. Like, and that's the through line of this epilogue and of the story, I guess, as a whole, is the idea of community and building healthy communities. And Verona, who really felt like the one in the group that was the least likely to do that at the start of the story, has found such a healthy way to do that through a bookstore staff and kind of a house of halfway, half street house. I don't know. It's good vibes.
Yeah, it's like she's really found her place in the world. Like I think like what you said was bang on, where it was like she was the one who at the start of the story just kind of felt like she didn't fit in with, obviously then later on in the story we got the idea of Kennet below, Kennet found, and Kennet above, and it sort of became Verona just doesn't click with Kennet above. But that's not what it feels like anymore in this epilogue. Like, she's really, I mean, this sounds a bit corny because she's, in her domain and all that, but now it really feels like she's found a home. Like, she's organizing herself, she's organizing other people. She's got this whole system built up that seems really cool, where like people who are lost kind of find their way in. She helps them find their feet like in her shop, and then like sends them back out into the world when they're ready. Like, it's this almost like this little mobile extension of Kennet Found. It's almost what she feels like.
Yeah. In the same way that Kennet Found is a place where people can land and be happy. That's definitely what Verona's bookstore is. I guess a bit more targeted to.
Yeah,
I don't know, people that Verona can give a book to that will help help them reflect on their problems. I don't know.
Well, and like I thought it was interesting. She also seems very clear, like she's not trying to overwork herself too. Like, she's doing all this stuff, but it seemed quite clear that she has like boundaries on how much she is willing to take on. And she's like, yeah, it's like that. Like you said, there's this healthy balance where she's doing this work, but she's not burning herself out doing it. Like, it just feels, like she's just found a groove for herself in life, and she's just kind of happily walking through it.
Yeah, living her best life.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I wanted to touch on like Hudson. Specifically as well.
Can we talk about this thing that Vice Versailles has just posted in the chat? Hudson, is there a Hudson Musser? Vice Versailles is saying still confounded as to whether that's Hudson Musser she's got working the till, and that just like twisted my bean, as the kids say.
Hudson is specifically called out as Japanese, right? And I just can't picture a Musser who isn't like obscenely white. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but yeah, I don't know.
As soon as Hudson came up, my first thought was like, is this some kind of spiritual manifestation of the Hudson Bay Fur Trading Company. That was my immediate thought when I saw that. And then it seems that's not the case over time, but you never know.
The old HBC, I forgot about that. Fuck. But okay, so sorry, I guess touching on Hudson, the one from this chapter, I really like as well, like part of this balance stuff we're talking about is like there's this part of the gig that Verona's got where she is kind of acting as a bit of a, like, I don't know, therapist, guidance counselor, something or other, because like it comes up that like Macaulay sort of mentions to Verona that he might start to become romantically interested in her, and like Verona's sort of like, oh, like I guess it's my job to do something about that, which is like, she's like, normally shouldn't be my job, but I guess I have kind of signed up for it here.
Yeah.
And like I just thought it was like just one of those. This chapter has like a million of these moments, so I guess get ready to say it a lot. But it's like it just shows like so how well she's doing and how much she's grown, that she's just like, oh, this sucks, but like she can tackle it. Like, you know, this is so far from the girl we saw half a story ago who had all the shit go down with Jeremy, where she kind of steamrolled over his clear romantic feelings because she like was not able to process and interact with that because of like her own insecurities and confusion. And it's like now she's just sort of in this position where she can be like it's just an annoying inconvenience to have to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, you know, she did choose it, so well done, Verona,
yeah,
I guess.
But I don't know. Like that's like almost more impressive. Like, you know, sort of being sure. Able to draw that line where it's like, actually, no, this probably is the situation where it's like I probably do have to be a little bit responsible for managing feelings there. Whereas, like, you know, I think her and Macaulay are right. Like 99% of the time, shouldn't be a girl's job to have to worry about that shit. But this probably is that 1%. Like, speaking of Macaulay, I love that she's just now like seemingly a permanent, I think she uses the term like platonic life partners or something. I just thought that was neat. Like, it's funny because I was like, they're actually just genuinely roommates. Like, yeah, I don't know. I thought that was great. Like a big part of Verona's character, I think, since the start of the story has been how she always like. It almost feels like to design a character trait of Verona, Wildbow thinks, what is like the classical thing, like how this works in typical classical stories, and then he just makes it do the opposite for Verona. And it's like, I love that, you know, that sort of extends right around to like aromanticism doesn't mean she has to be like a loner, you know, like she's still surrounded herself with people. It's just it's clearly not like a romantic relationship.
Yes.
Like, you know, now she's got like 2 cat girls living with her.
Yeah, I guess that's a way to describe them.
Yeah, I froze halfway through.
2 cat girls, yeah. Living the
dream. She's also, she wants to get supplies, and 2 of the things she mentions is she wants plants from the Warrens and plants from the Fae. Why?
Just a large variety of fun botany. I don't know, nothing wrong with that.
For what? Like, I know she's a sorceress, but I'm just like...
I feel like one of the things you have to do to be a sorceress is just gather a bunch of random shit, because you'll probably need random things all the time, and the more miscellaneous junk you have on hand, the better a sorceress you can be.
I mean, yeah, but just like buy it from the market. You know, it can't be worth it to have that shit growing in your house. Like, I can't decide which one I think is worse. Like, if I had to have either Warren's plants or Fae plants in my house, which would I prefer? I genuinely could not answer that question.
Yeah, that's a great discussion question. If only we still did those. Would you rather have Warren's plants or Fae plants? That's fun.
Like, neither. This is my point. I'm like,
you have to pick. You have to pick one.
I pick like rat poison. Yeah. Oh, God, there's like so many bits I wanted to call out from this section, and like another one is Verona spends a lot of time here talking about how she needs to go back to Kennet for a little bit to like retrofit the house so that it like blends in externally with other cities. And I was just like, how does she not have like a chameleon circuit already? Like, she's just she's built all the parts of the TARDIS except the most important one.
It's not like she needs a Babel fish. She's already got the ability to understand people pretty easily.
Yeah. I just thought it was so funny that it was like I would have assumed she'd have that sorted by now.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like such a weird. Like, honestly, part of me is like, maybe she wants the excuse to have to keep going back to Kennet.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's probably a good excuse for her to revisit home.
Also, there's a great throwaway line where she says she's going to be visiting Tashlet and her mum and her dad. And I was just like, oh, Tashlet's family's back together. That's nice.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I assume by now Tashlet is like full on a kind of sea serpent or something. So
who knows? Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Hey, you called out this thing about the bookshelves in Black Forest Wood line,
oh yeah,
which is so interesting to me. I actually didn't. I guess I didn't. That line didn't click for me. But I was thinking, she's kind of morphing closer and closer to Otis, isn't she? In her like vibe. So it's very appropriate.
Yeah, I thought that was a fun little like. Just a joke, honestly. By Verona, by Wildbow. I mean, the answer's kind of both. Like, of course, she built all of her bookshelves out of Black Forest wood. Like, as you said, it kind of makes sense from a utility perspective, because she's doing pedaling. Like, there's some overlap there, so it's probably like there's probably mechanical benefit, but it's also just a little goofy addition. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Just as Verona is getting cozy, some new arrivals turn up. A boy and a girl, brother and sister, and an echo.
Yeah, and I love how like wary and kind of suspicious the guy here is, because
rightfully so.
He 100% should be right. We need to talk about how if I was not literally reading this from Verona's perspective, knowing she has benevolent motivations, this would be the start of a horror movie. These kids are about to get abducted into some fucking weird cult. Like this is how you end up on a cult, like on a farm where, you know, everyone has sex all the time and does weird shit and then jumps off cliffs. I've forgotten what that movie is called, but you know the one I'm talking about.
Lemmings?
Yeah, my favorite movie, Lemmings.
I don't
no,
know.
It has that girl in it who played the girl in the Marvel movie. Fuck.
Oh, you mean Midsummer?
Yeah.
How was that a good enough explanation for me to understand you were talking about Florence Pugh? For fuck's sake. That's
we should
terrible.
play Articulate together.
Wow, that's horrible. I can't believe that.
You just rewarded this behavior. That's the worst part.
Jeez,
but yeah, like, you know what I mean? These kids are like, this is the opening to a horror film in like 9 out of 10 situations. Like, it's yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was so funny. It was very funny reading this from Verona's perspective and see how they're wearing. I was like, I don't know if there's a better way for Verona to do this that doesn't come off extraordinarily sus, because what she's offering just kind of is too good to be true, except it isn't. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's just funny how sus she is in this. Like, so she walking around calling herself a sorceress. It's just even in her head, it's a little hard to believe that she's not doing up like some shady shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she kind of is doing shady shit, right? She's effectively abducting at-risk teens, but just for good reasons.
Yeah. It's
like Otis's shady bus that kidnaps people and traps them there and steals their soul essence, but only bad people, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's yeah.
You got to make do with what you have, you know. You got to just kind of do it.
You know, the funny thing about like these last two epilogues, like I'm thinking of the one like we didn't get to talk about last week as well here, but like the funny thing about these two chapters is it really taught me how much I would just kind of happily read the casual adventures of the Kenneteers. You know, like
what?
I don't know. I don't know if Wobbo wants to write it, but I would read the story of just like, you know, following a year in Verona's bookshop, and then we could cut to the story that follows just like a year of Lucy juggling university and weird practitioner politics in Montreal, and then, I mean, obviously Avery and Nora's adventures through all of time and fucking space. So,
yeah,
you know,
that's if we're talking about Doctor Who parallels, it's Avery and Nora 100%.
Yeah, Nora has real companion energy, doesn't she?
100% she does, yes.
Yeah. But I guess that's my point, right? Is like, it'd be Doctor Who, except hopefully consistently good. So yeah, I don't know. It's just funny how much each of the three Kenneteers, I'm like, I would still read this story. Like, it wouldn't be the same as Pale, because the like hopefully this would just be like more casual stuff. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, it would be Avery's adventures on random unexplored paths, right? Like, or Verona's adventures in her bookshelf house. What do you call it? Bookstore? Sorry,
yeah.
Bookhouse was the thing that kept coming to mind, which is effectively what it is. But it's not
it is a
real
bookhouse.
Anyway.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I'm so attached to this world and these characters and like where they've ended up. That's like, you know what? I don't need stakes. Actually, I'd happily read their fucking casual adventures that don't really matter. It's just them living their lives.
Yeah.
But sorry, going back to the two kids that Verona is benevolently abducting. I love how we get the details on like their like magically assigned books. And how much those books are great because they feel like what Verona would have given Verona at the start of the story. Like the girl's book is about this girl who builds a new body and essentially builds a new self through a robot and then goes out and gets revenge on the people who, turned the world into a trash heap that just had robot parts everywhere. And then the guy is like, his story is about another guy who's like just in this never ending, like arduous grinding war against the world and everyone speaks gibberish. So there's this kind of voice of the speechless where you're going to have to intuit the meaning from context. And it's just, like both of those books absolutely apply to Verona at different parts of this story. And I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. Do you think that, well, I mean, Verona mentions the book that she gave to Hudson? No, which one was the book that she had read herself and she'd gotten something out of? It was the one that she gave to the boy, I think. Maybe it was Hudson.
Yeah, well, she says she says she like picked up on some of the themes about cycles of abuse and stuff, and it was like, yeah. So she's like, there might be some common ground there. So she kind of directly calls it out, but it's like, yeah, both of these stories are like very funny because they're very on the nose references to where Verona has been in parts of this story, and it's just like this very clear setup for like how she is building a system that helps people like her, which pale.txt or whatever, but it's still nice.
Yeah.
And like same with the Echo. Like I thought it was really funny that she's like just helping out random echoes and stuff, like so Verona's already had a rocky relationship in terms of handling echoes, but she gets on with this guy great. He can say camel humping toads a lot quicker and easier than her mom can. So like,
do you think that's a default echo check now just because of that? It's very funny.
She probably uses it way too often. She's going to have to like change it in a few years because like the average person's going to know that that's her go-to, Like it'll become a meme and then it'll be ruined because everyone will know about
Echoes
it.
will already have learned it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess something that I thought was pretty funny from this section, Verona uses one of those Pygon books as fire starter. Very funny that this book is so valueless that it's been reduced to kindling.
I am so interested in these trash fictional books now. I love how well Wildbow captures the sense of just a sci-fi franchise that's overstayed its welcome, where it's like Pygons 1 through 4, and then the son of Pygon books, and it's just like fucking that sounds like Dune. Like, and then Verona has some unwritten ones, which is also just fascinating. Like, this is apparently such a trash series that used bookstores already can't handle the written ones, and she's got like ones that they didn't. Like, I want to know more about this. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. One last thing from this section before we move on. We have official confirmation that Verona is now an adult when she has that moment that I think everyone goes through at least once in their life. As you start to become an adult, where Verona refers to herself as a girl and is corrected by somebody else who points out that they're referring to her as a lady. And like I definitely remember getting like Sird my first time and having that same sort of response of like,
no,
I'm not a mister.
Yeah.
I'm a boy. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, I love this.
Yeah. So yeah, to end off this first section, Rook drops by and has some bad news.
But she has some good news too, which is that we can officially declare Verona a sorceress now.
Whoop, whoop.
And I think hearing that from an Oni in particular is like fun messaging. Like, there's something about being recognized as like the most practitioner-y kind of practitioner, I guess, from an Oni. Your best mate Oni. But yeah, I don't know, sorceress at only 17. That's I think that's the second youngest one we know of in this world. So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Can we talk about? I found this kind of interesting. Rook in this conversation talks about how she threw her lot in with Charles and lost. Right,
Yeah.
which I don't know. It's very interesting to me because we kind of had a reveal in quotes, if that's even the right word, that Rook had this non-plan of connected elements that was going to help the Kenneteers win. And Rook does say the best loss is one where you know how you'll turn it to your advantage in the long run. And playing both sides does definitely feel like Rook's jam. But it makes me think all the, historic losses that Rook has suffered has just been Rook intentionally going to the other side and fucking around.
Yeah, what's funny is about this conversation is it's and this is the most Rook shit ever. You're right. I'm here and I'm like, I think you could interpret it either way. I still don't fucking know what Rook's side was. Because I think it's equally valid to say she picked the losing side because she knows she loses and she helped the Kenneteers to win.
Yes.
But I think my gut reaction to reading this was her saying that she actually was more on Charles's side. It's just a part of her, her whole thing about, the best kind of loss is one where you know how you can spin it. So I think it was her sort of saying, I was on Charles's side, but I planted some seeds. So if you guys won, you wouldn't hate me. It could be how are we still fucking not sure what Rook was doing? I hate this woman. I hate her. She does my head in.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Rook.
I at this point, I think I'd rather deal with Faye.
I don't know about that. But you'll get your wish soon enough, Elliot.
Yeah, does seem like it. I also love this bit where, so Verona has this really funny thing where she's trying to bait Rook into reacting by saying crass stuff, which is obviously classic Verona, and I really enjoy how much Rook is not giving her the reactions she's after. It's a really funny dynamic. But there's this great part where Verona talks about being on top of a guy or something, and says sorry if that's TMI, and Rook's like, no, it's fine. It is not TMI, and it was just Rook saying TMI is extremely funny, right? I don't know what it is, but it just does not seem like an acronym Rook should say.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I guess
yeah.
in my head, Rook speaks like Raymond Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so it's just imagining
100%.
Raymond Holt saying TMI, it doesn't. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Vice versa in chat, she can speak with fairies, goblins, and gamers.
Wow.
The big three.
The three dirtiest dogs known to mankind.
The three most off-putting kinds of other goblins, fairies, and gamers.
Nobody speaks of gamers except in hushed whispers in dark alleys.
Yeah, you know how at the end, Lucy makes that comment about how in the future we might be seeing lines crossed that even Charles didn't want to use? That's gamers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. What do you think Declan's practice is going to be like?
Yeah. There's so many potential ways you could go with path specialty for gaming because they're so video gamey paths.
He's going to team up with Zed and become a retro games focused practitioner.
That would be my dream practice.
Your dream practice would be some kind of Captain Olimar-esque practitioner that creates and manages Pikmin.
Yeah, and throws them onto paths. Yeah, because they're expendable.
Maximizes Dandori.
Also, one last thing from this section. So, Verona calls her Mrs. Rook, which implies that she's married, doesn't it? Isn't Mrs. specifically for, married women? Who is the Mr. Rook or the other Mrs. Rook? I was hoping it was Miss, but that seems deconfirmed. I did look it up, and she's technically called Mrs. Rook in Summer Break when she's hanging out with Jasmine, so she must have been married at least as long as since Arc 13.
Yeah, so who's she married to? Great question.
Yeah.
Married to the job, maybe. Married to losing wars. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few big questions that are still, we didn't wrap up all the loose ends in Pale, and this is obviously one of the big ones, is who's Rook married to. It's right up there with Gashwad's weapon form. I'm never letting that one go. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I just thought that was funny. I was like, who is Mrs. Rook? That means there must be a Mr. or another Mrs. Rook.
Yeah, and we're going to meet them probably next chapter. So Lucy and Booker.
No, so how funny would it be if like somebody else got introduced in like Pyre and they're like Mr. Rook? Like
that would be very funny. That would be awesome. Lucy and Booker are talking magic on the drive to uni, despite Jasmine's protests. Lucy then meets her new friends, allies, and dorm mates.
Yeah, and like this sort of banter going on between Lucy, Booker, and Jasmine is just so good. It's just one of those like, this is just a family who are so fucking close, and they're all kind of shit stirring each other. There's a ton of banter. Jasmine is having this fun time kind of whining about them talking about magic while clearly just being so blatantly proud of the two of them. Especially after the Jasmine Lucy fight we had a couple of weeks ago, it was just like seeing the three of them just so close and perfectly happy was just so nice.
Yeah, it is nice. I mean, that's what this last epilogue is for, right? Get a bit of everyone's happy, living their best life.
Even last epilogue was a lot like that too. Like when you get to about these last two, very much just feel like the sort of victory laps for the Kenneteers, mixed in with a bit of setup for the next story.
Foreshadowing, yeah.
I also thought it was funny. Like, there's this comment Lucy makes about worrying about Jasmine being alone, and it's just like, Lucy, Anthem is still in Kennet. Like, she's fine. She's not going to be that lonely. This is just the classic like Professor Oak situation where your mum's kicking you out of the house so that she can have Anthem over. She's volunteering to be a special nurse at the Kennet Found prison.
Yeah. I think well, we didn't get it confirmed, but I'm still riding that ship.
It will have to be vehemently, explicitly deconfirmed before I give up on Jasmine and Anthem.
Yeah.
And honestly, so it would have to be deconfirmed to the point where then I'd be able to say, they doth protest too much. So there's probably no winning this for Warbo, unfortunately.
Yeah. So we get a lot of good fun bits in this chapter, don't we? I like Grandfather trying his hardest to seem serious in conversations as Lucy desperately tries to convince people he's a military dog.
Yeah. The Grandfather familiar stuff, there was a bit of a last chapter, and I think Malia and Jenny already covered it, but it's just so good. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just love Grandfather as a familiar for Lucy. It's great. Like, yeah, I love the benefits they both sort of give each other, where like he's the sort of guard dog who can let her relax, and then she also gives him the ability to relax. Like, it's great.
Yeah, it works out pretty well for sure as those two as a team.
Speaking of Grandfather as her guard dog, there is this hilarious moment where like Jasmine's like, oh, I'm not worried about Lucy drinking too much or anything. Like, I trust her. I'm a little bit worried about the boys in the house, but I trust her on that too. And I was thinking, yeah, good fucking luck to any boy who tries to fuck with Lucy, like have a crack, I dare you.
Yeah.
Like, between Grandfather and herself, like, nah. Like, no worries.
Yeah, no, she's anyway, she's funny. She's it will be interesting to see Lucy's dating life progress. And actually we do get a hint of that in this chapter, don't we?
Yeah.
When she seems to almost want to go for a political marriage.
Oh, she's open to political dating, which like
Sure.
That's sort of I have like lots of friends who've gone through like arranged marriages where it's that sort of thing where it's more like arranged dating, really.
Yes.
Especially like here in Australia now, where it's like the parents kind of set you up with somebody else, but it's like you actually go out and date them and kind of decide, and it's usually a bit more rushed than I don't know, like normal traditional meta to bar dating or whatever, because there's the parental pressure to get married or whatever. But it's like it seems like Lucy's more slotting into that sort of role where she's like, open to relationships that kind of explicitly like starting with the pretext of it'd be neat for our political groups if we got married.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, as opposed to Avery. Like, I do love how they're sort of like, oh, well, we wouldn't ask either of the other two because they're like, Avery is attached, and I can't remember how they phrase it, but they're basically just like, we know we don't have a shot with Verona. So yeah, it's kind of like Lucy's having to cop all that pressure. Like, it's sort of like, I think we talked about this in Hawaii, but like one of my sisters is currently getting all the pressure from my parents to get grandkids because they've realized like my other sister is about as romantically inclined as Verona, and then like nothing's happening on my end anytime soon. So, um, so George is kind of copying all the pressure because she's the only one in with the shot.
Yeah, your family dynamic is fun.
Well, I mean, I'm almost beginning to think that my plan to start a podcast on a web serial to get chicks isn't going to work out. I've only got till the end of this episode.
Yeah.
It seemed like such a good plan.
It's a tough game, Elliot. Anyway, on to nicer. Speaking of things that are nice in this chapter, like Lucy meeting these new people is just in this like such a nice, relaxed atmosphere. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's called out in the chapter of just like no niggling doubts or anything in the back of her mind. She's just having a good time.
Yeah, and she's able to do that thing that kind of pisses me off when you see it, where she's just like normal and just like meets new people and talks to them and doesn't seem like an idiot.
Hate that.
Yeah. But yeah, like, it's like you said, like she notes it when she's talking to Avery in a bit, but it's like, it's one of those things where she like just needed to get out of Ken. Like she specifically calls out how she's not like the one person of color anymore. Like she's at uni, it's bigger, it's like a more diverse place. It's this, like, as you said, it's just now Lucy's in a place where people are interested in her. She doesn't have to be like on full alert. She doesn't have to be bulletproof here because she's no longer representing her entire race kind of by default like she was at school a lot of the time. Yeah. And like I love how that kind of contrasts with like Verona. Like we see Verona has found her place in the world in this like cozy little house surrounded by friends, picking up and abducting teenagers. Whereas Lucy's found it by like moving into college and being a part of the bigger world. And those are like so different as solutions to both of those girls' problems, but like that's kind of the point of Pale, is they both found their own way to what they needed.
Yeah, you're right. It's chill vibes, nice vibes for all of them, building the worlds that they need.
And they're all like, and Avery as well. Avery's is fucking different. It's just her and her girlfriend off on Doctor Who adventures. And like, that's kind of the worst nightmare for both of the other two, but it works for her. And,
yeah.
In less good news, probably the lowest point of this chapter, we find out that the slasher club that we got introduced to last chapter has already collapsed.
That's tragic.
Seemingly not peacefully, although I guess it would be weird if the slasher club did go down peacefully. But that was gutting for me. That was introduced last chapter, and I was like, this is now where I want to be in this universe. So to find out it didn't work out was gutting.
Well, maybe next time. But yeah, so Lucy hears about Rook's message, and then Avery drops by to pick her up with Nora.
Yeah, and we find out that they've done this triumvirate ritual, which is the coolest fucking shit ever. It's, I don't even know where to start. It's like, I love how it feels like, do you remember at the start of this story, there was so much tinfoil, like people would always be like, the Kenneteers are going to like merge and like become a cluster from parahumans and blah, blah. And I kind of love that, like, actually they did right at the end here after the story. But it was kind of, it wasn't like, this thing that happened to them that they weren't aware of. They literally sat down after the trouble was all over and they're like, hey, let's just like commit to being BFFs forever and do a cool ritual that seems like it's basically a low level familiar ritual.
Yes, 100%.
I'm assuming Verona homespun this ritual. It just feels like the sort of shit she'd do when they had this idea. But it's just like all that stuff like from those early tinfoils in the story about the Kenneteers kind of growing and being able to like help each other psychically as a unit. It's so fun actually getting that, but in a way where it's like, we didn't need that in the story. Like they didn't need those powers to defeat Charles. That might have been a bit cheap or a bit OP. It was like, no, this is just like them after the fact using the magic of this world to codify how close they are. It's like the best of both worlds. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is wonderful. They're like fully connected, and it's so interesting that it's just like a little thing that they did outside of the story. It's so interesting.
Yeah, I love it more that way. It's so good, and like I think like there's that little moment because I think they all hug when they first meet up, all three of them, and Lucy sort of talks about how it's like they sort of transfer the piece that each of them needs, and it's like it's that classic fucking Pale thing where it's like taking what their relationship as a trio is and turning it into actual mechanical magic within this world. At it, like it's just so nice to get that at the end of the story, like just to codify that and make it a mechanic at the end is just I love that choice. I also think, and part of me almost doesn't want to bring this up because it defeats the point, but like I love how this hasn't like ever seemingly been a thing that's like hurt Nora, like because Avery now obviously has two special magical lifelong relationships. Like in a way there are three women in Avery's life who are around the same age as her and are like more mechanically connected to her in this world than Nora. But like that clearly doesn't really seem to actually be a problem for Nora and Avery. Like Nora still was able to appreciate like who she is to Avery, and like that in a way she's probably more special, or maybe the whole point is more or less special isn't the point. But like I don't know, like I kind of love that the story's never even felt the need to justify that or bring it up as a thing. It's just like Nora and Avery can have their relationship, and the triumvirate ritual and the familiar ritual don't have to be a factor for that. Like Avery, I guess especially because Avery had those fucking issues early in the story with how desperately romantic she was, and like she kind of saw a partner as somebody who had to be like the entirety of your life, and it's just like nice that now she can have a romantic relationship that doesn't have to worry about her familiar bond or her triumvirate bond.
It's a nice, I mean, there's just a lot of nice solid relationships that exist in this story. So it's pretty fun to see how Avery has turned into this kind of like wild beach hippie path traveler. Is that the vibe? That's kind of what it is, right?
As somebody who just spent a weekend on the coast, like the mid-north coast in Australia, I reckon I saw 10 17-year-old Averys every time I went to the beach. Like there are about a dozen girls dressed like this in every beach town in Australia at any given time. She's absolutely got beach hippie vibes.
100%. Hey, also Snowdrop has aged. What? Which like obviously makes sense, but like, does that mean we're going to eventually maybe see an adult Snowdrop? I can't imagine what that would be like. What would a more serious and grounded Snowdrop be like?
I don't know that adult Snowdrop will be more serious and grounded.
I'm thinking of like Toadswallow, right? Who's like an adult goblin, or Bubble. That where like
you're right. I can't picture
it. I just can't. I can't picture it at all.
See, I can't see her as anything but like an Aunt Heather type. Like she's going to be like that drunk auntie who it's like she's 40 years old and she's just like she's got a bottle of wine in each hand. Like that's like as adult as I can see Snowdrop getting. Is it's like she upgrades to Bailey's because it's chocolate milk but with alcohol.
That you're right. That's definitely something that an adult Snowdrop would get into.
Yeah, is there strawberry Baileys? Because she gobbled that shit up.
It's effectively alcoholic strawberry milkshake. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. No. There's oh my god. There's Pavlova flavored Baileys. Weird.
All right. Add it to the cart. Will it arrive?
But no, there's strawberries and cream Baileys. So yeah, that's 100% Snowdrop's drink of choice.
Can you get it 18. Before this Saturday? Is the question.
Man, we already have so much alcohol. Oh, actually, no, we were meant to buy Baileys, but we haven't bought Baileys yet.
There
let's get strawberries and cream Baileys.
Great. Oh no.
Oh, it's out of stock.
Oh no, damn.
I'll see if I can fix it. I'll leave the tab open. That is a great idea.
I'm full of them.
Yeah. Anyway, it's funny. Sorry, while we're talking about Toady stuff as well, we do get a thing later in this chapter that Toadslaw has grown really tall, which is nice. He's getting that recognition finally as a goblin.
Yeah, Toadie's living the best life. Hey, yeah, interesting little moment where we get on a path with a giant woman trying to eat the path travelers. Funny that Wildbo's put Vor content into Pale finally.
There must have been Vor before this.
Can't think of any.
Yeah, nothing's jumping out. Come on, chat, help me out.
How big was the cakewalk boss? You know,
pretty big, but not. I don't remember that having a Vor vibe. Breastbiter's not really Vor.
Oh, come on, get off it.
How is Breastbiter Vor? I thought Vor was like swallowing. He's like nibbling.
Nippling. Yeah. Oh, good one.
He should have Ant-Man to Charles. Yeah. I can't think. There must have been more Vor in this story, but you're right. I can't think of any, so I'll have to concede. I guess. Sorry, one other thing from this path that I wanted to call out. In amongst all the Vor, there's this hilarious moment where like stuff's catching up to them, and then we see obviously Nora has awakened by this point, and she like does a big stomp, and there's an earth glyph, and it stops the destruction for a bit, and it's pretty awesome. But it's just this moment where as soon as she did that, I was like, oh, in retrospect, of course Nora is earth. Like Avery's element this whole story has been air. And then Nora has been Avery's like grounding is the word I want to use. So it's like we've seen so many times in this story when Avery's getting a little bit too lost, a little bit too air spirity and disconnected from the world. Nora is always the thing that like brings her back down to earth. So like, of course they're dynamic on these fucking paths as Avery's whizzing around as the fucking air spirit, and then Nora is probably just stomping around doing earth shit, like being a bit of an earth ball. It was one of those things where like as soon as it happened, I was like, of course, like yeah.
Yeah, it is fun. It is very making things literal in that way that works so well in this universe.
Yeah, just like we were talking about with the triumvirate ritual, it's the same sort of thing where it's like, yeah, of course Nora uses the earth glyph because that's her relationship with Avery and thus like the practice at the moment. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Nora and Avery are really converging on, you know, that like aesthetic of like Princess Bubblegum and Marceline the Vampire Queen. Like the more their description
girl and the black
yeah. Like they're really becoming that trope in the best way.
What do you call it? Like color palette, you know?
Like the pastel and the goth or something.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the bad news is, Elliot, that Gerhild has finally arrived, and the Kenneteers go to fight her once and for all. Wait, what?
Yeah.
I
what the actual fuck?
So much.
Yeah. I can't be the only one who was just cackling reading this. Like
as soon as I realized Gerhild was dead, I was like, oh, this is so fucking funny.
Yeah, I agree. I lost my fucking mind. I was like that, yeah. I cannot believe so Gertie was killed off camera.
What a troll. I loved it.
And like the setup is so good as well because like she's been in the background of like this whole story as like she's going to be worse than Charles. Like she was always being kind of hyped up as the big bad that was worse than what we're already dealing with. And then not only do we find out that she's been killed, which sets the stakes like even higher, but her last thoughts are her being like, man, I'm really sad I'm going to miss it. Sounds like it would have been Bowler, which is like, okay, so now the big bad we weren't even ready to handle is also like, wow, the guys who killed me are crazy. Like it's such good hype. It's so like, yeah, the person who was too powerful for us to even deal with so far has been taken out by someone even better and even crazier. Like what? Jesus. So good.
Yeah. It is very funny. Hey.
Just one more thing. I guess because the other aspect to this as well is I'm trying to figure out how I want to explain this. Sorry, I've changed my mind from how I've said it in the notes. But I guess like the Gerhild stuff is really fun as well, because I guess she'd been introduced for so long that or at least I definitely had kind of preconceptions about how she was going to fit into Pyre. And I think that what's really fun now is like
that's all upended.
Yeah, like Wildbow's now no longer limited by preconceptions like stuff he wrote, however many years ago. Like if Pyre comes out in 5 years, he doesn't have to worry about how the metaphors he's built around Gerhild. Like it's just like now there's like kind of the new Fae are the only baggage, but there's so many question marks around them anyway that it's like there's so much less to deal with there than Gerhild. Like I think it's also just a really clever idea, because as well as all this hype that it's built, it's just like now I think Pyre has a lot more room to be whatever Wildbow needs it to be when it happens.
Yeah. If whatever feels right to Wildbow and resonates, it's good.
Yeah.
Lucy's such a badass, dude. This bit, she gets here, she smells blood in the air, which I mean, even first of all, that's fucking wonderful. She draws out a weapon, turning basically a piece of paper into a gun, which with a kind of a rifle with an Anthem-esque gun augmentation diagram glowing around it. Like, fuck, Lucy's just a baller.
Yeah, it's good to know that after the conversation in the last chapter between Liberty and Lucy, it seems like Lucy did in fact start getting lessons from Anthem, because I thought, well, I understood her concerns around approaching him. It was kind of like,
how else is the ship gonna set sail?
Well, that too, yeah. Like, obviously, your stepdad wants to build a relationship with you, but also, like, Anthem just fucking loves teaching this shit. And, like, Lucy is the daughter he kind of wanted, in that she wants to be a bit of a combat sorceress. So it was like Lucy, he's going to fucking love the opportunity to teach you. And I'm glad that she did go through with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the upgrade to the weapon rings power through Grandfather, where now it's like she can see like a rifle out of a piece of paper is bullshit.
Yeah. I've heard of 3D printing guns, but this is something else. Am I right, Elliot?
It's also like, aren't rifles like fucking big guns? Like that just seems impractical.
Oh, she's tall. They're all tall now. That's the main thing that's changed in 3 years.
I know. I thought it was so funny that like Verona's now kind of lanky. Yeah. I also, sorry, I wanted to talk about how cool the way this Alcazar is introduced, like spatially, because obviously we start at the Outer Rim, and it's so we see some Thunder Bay people and some other people, blah blah. Who cares? But we sort of get to the center, and the way it sort of flows is we see that like Miss is here, we get some info from her, and then Toady, and then Matt, and it's like I swear it's almost a shot for shot callback to like Blood Run Cold, like the prologue. With the Carmine Beast death, where like Louise walked in and saw these three. It was like Miss, Toady, and Matt kind of talking about the Carmine Beast's death. And there's probably some more stuff to talk about later with like how this mirrors the start of the story. But I love this for helping like it's these three and the way they're laid down in the scene in particular that made me like really think, oh wow, this like Gerhild death is a direct like mirror or like a bookend to the Carmine Beast's death.
Yeah, 100%. It's a really good call. The Miss, Toady, and Matt being the core gang really makes that resonate. Although, weren't the Hungry Choir there as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think they said Deb's out the back, so same
close enough.
Also, sorry, we haven't talked about it, but obviously this is the part where we get a bit of a look at Mrs. Space Elevator to the paths that she's building, which is also kind of fun setup for a future story that seemingly Kennet found is cooking up some weird shit to connect the paths to Earth more. I don't know, maybe we can talk about that after some Pisces stuff happens. I don't know. I think there's some interesting ideas there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't have much more to say about it at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, Miss elaborates on what this upcoming fight's going to be. Not active and bloody like the Carmine, but fey, subtle and dark.
Yeah. I think we've both written in our notes here that we'll talk about that in back-to-back.
We'll do a back-to-back. It's coming back for this final episode.
Yeah, I know.
Stay tuned.
I guess the one thing that I felt like I could talk about here in the Pale Zone is I love how this Alcazar and this death scene does feel distinctly like new Fae, in that this Alcazar is so bloody and messy. Like, it feels a little bit goblin-y in how just like fucked up it was. Like, it didn't feel as tidy or precisely messaged out as I might have expected from like a classical Fae doing it. Like, this is much closer to Marcy as the blood goddess sort of vibes. Like, I guess one thing I'm liking is that it did feel to me like this was not this was not a bunch of winter Fae. This felt like the new Fae, as Toadie's calling them. Like these are the Fae who aren't 100% Fae. They're kind of intentionally starting to fuck with those definitions. It feels like, and this killing a goblin, like much like Marcy still had some Fae in her, and that was how Guilherme got her. Like, you know, there may have been some goblin racism that made her a target or whatever. Like, they're still kind of Fae, but they're not 100% Fae anymore. They're kind of intentionally fucking with some of that stuff.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So I know that's like fun stuff to look forward to in these future stories, as we really are dealing with Fae who are going to be like
slightly different, maybe even more gruesome in a fun way.
Yeah. Well, it feels like the one thing you kind of had going with you when you were trying to fight Fae is that they didn't deal well with like gross chaos, and it's like, if these guys are more comfortable with that, like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, and the Oni war gets specifically kind of called out here as a part of this, and like, yeah, like that's sort of that blurring lines and definition stuff. That's where I like, that's all sort of fitting together a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's nice to get a bit of, you know, foreshadowing of what's going to happen next in the Otherverse, with the clear marker that this isn't the Kenneteers fight, although they'll be around through the communities they've created.
Yeah, I really love this as the closing point of Pale, like the end of Pale, because it's sending off the Kenneteers, but then also sort of talking about why, like, as well as setting up the next fight, it's sort of saying, but they don't need to be the protagonists, in a way that's very on theme, because, as you said, their way of fighting now, they are the institution. Their whole thing is they won't get to be on the front lines, but they're going to keep building a community, and that's what makes everyone stronger, including the people who will be on the front lines. Like, they're lifting up the people on the bottom. And yeah, I don't know. That's so great. It's like this way of doing the setup for the future story that doesn't run into that problem, you know, like Avengers movies have, where it's like, why don't we call in Iron Man to help save this? It's like we've sort of preemptively cut that off by explaining it, but it's also, it doesn't feel like it's just doing that, because it's like, okay, no, but this is also sort of like very Pale, that it's like, no, the most important thing you can do in this fight is foster a good community. That's so Pale. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, yeah, I love this sort of closing thought on the future fight as a way of thematically closing Pale, while also being able to tease another story at the same time. Like, that's a really fun needle to thread.
Yeah, 100%. It's done. It's handled very well. It's very exciting. I'm really excited to see what happens next in the Otherverse, and, you know, get some cameos maybe from Snowdrop. But, you know, knowing,
I'll be shocked if the Kenneteers don't appear at some point in something like Pyre. But like, I like this as explaining why we shouldn't have to expect to see Lucy like neck deep in every fight in the next one. You know, like,
we don't want Lucy to have to fight every fight.
Yeah, exactly. We've just had a whole bunch of epilogues about that even. And I like this for kind of justifying that, and then also, like, it does feel right that it's sort of saying, you guys are kind of the institution now. Like, the most important thing you can do is make sure that we don't have a situation where the people fighting the fight have to kind of be kidnapped by a bunch of others in their like Hodunk town. Like, you know, they're building a situation where even the weakest will hopefully have just access to a better network than the Kenneteers fucking did at the start of this story.
Yeah.
And that sort of leads into what I wanted to talk about here, which is this. I think you can build the epilogue or map the epilogues to the rest of the story. I think they're kind of in reverse chronological order, kind of unpacking or unwrapping the events of the story and showing how the Kenneteers healed or are doing better than they were, like, or you know, that they build a system that handles better whatever problem was in the story predominantly in that chunk of time. So I've written a lot here, and I'm like, so I'll try and go through it quickly. But so like the first epilogue was the one where the Kenneteers like doing first aid on themselves. Avery kind of reconnected with her family. Verona started rebuilding her house. And I think this one's like very clearly just like unpacking the trauma of like the war against Charles, like, you know, Verona losing her houses, and Avery getting quite disconnected from her family and literally, you know, almost dying for an arc. We're sort of both in that height of the war against Charles, and we're sort of seeing how they're already building something better after the fact. Then in epilogue 2, that was the Jasmine talk, and for me, the thing that really defined the handful of arcs before that war against Charles was a handful of arcs that introduced to the Negateers, and we also had the Awareness at the same time. And there were these arcs like around 19 and 20 were sort of the central ones, where the Negateers and the Awareness were both kind of exploring the concept of like raising kids, or like what raising kids look like. We saw a lot of apprentices. We had the Awareness. Like there was a lot of talk about like what growing up means, I guess. And I think that kind of maps quite well with this Jasmine talk as a bit of a like closure on that, because it's just, you know, where Lucy learns not to be a stupid Negateer and to stop fighting. And then epilogue 3 was the one where like basically they did the big ritual to redefine Kennet Below and draw all the people in, and had that sort of second Christmas party. And I actually think this maps quite well to that chunk of the story from around arcs 14 to 17, which was all about like learning about the places in this world. Like this is where Kennet Below was first introduced. This is where the Kenneteers work to actually define Kennet Found. Like obviously arc 17 ends with Kennet Found being founded. But it's also like where Avery went out and saw Thunder Bay, and we met all the Thunder Bay people, and it was like this. There was this chunk of the story after arc 13 that was really kind of dedicated to showing us what different parts of this world could be, and like how they were put together, and what like that we should have takeaways from that. And that culminated in Kennet Found being founded. And I kind of like that there's a mirror here in epilogue 3 of redefining Kennet Below. And then in epilogue 4, and this is admittedly probably the weakest part of this, you know, stretchy kind of mapping. But epilogue 4 was the one where Declan got made aware, and then they had the meeting with Milton. And I think this kind of maps to arcs like 9 to 13, which is like where the Kenneteers returned to Kennet, and then obviously, you know, fought Summer Break and all that. And there was kind of a war for what Kennet was. And I like the big thing, the first half of arcs 9 to 13 for me is still sort of like this is when the Kenneteers got back from the Blue Heron, and Kennet had grown, and there are a lot of new others, but that was like a really rocky growth. Like we couldn't trust a lot of the new others. Like everyone was having to get vetted super hard. It was just a bit murky. Now we can aware in people like Declan, and it's a good thing. Like, you know, that's a huge improvement over like barely being able to let Nibble and Chloe in. And then like the meeting with Milton kind of challenged Avery and her family to like define what lines they were willing to cross, I guess. And that kind of goes against what we saw, you know, Marissa and Charles do in arc 13, where they made deals with Mossa and that sort of thing.
I like it. I like the idea. I think a lot of it works. Keep going.
Cheers. Sorry, yeah. I think that one's the weakest, because I think it comes back a bit. Epilogue 5 maps pretty easily to the chunk of the story where the girls were at the Blue Heron Institute. Like, right down to not just the Kennet school with Jessica doing a guest lecture, which is like, I think having Jessica come and be the lecturer is like this great, just straight map to how Kennet's school is better than the Blue Heron. But then we even cut to like Lucy had that Taskmaster show she was running with the goblins.
Yes, the beast of the least.
Yeah, which definitely, we haven't talked about it. We're going to have to do something like that for All Packed Up too, right?
You and me fight, I think.
Well, yeah, we can fight, I suppose. I was thinking
series
something
of
creative.
Taskmaster-esque challenges, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, there was also like Nora getting awarened in that chapter, which felt like it tied into like, I think one of the big things that kept coming up in that Blue Heron arc was how much the Blue Heron was not really letting anyone in who wasn't already part of the practitioner world.
Yeah.
And so, well, yeah, like I think this fifth chapter was all about kind of how Kennet was building a school that was directly better than the Blue Heron. And they were reaching out and fostering connections through it in a better way than the Blue Heron did. And so that all, I think, comes together then in epilogue 6, which in this reverse chronological thing maps to the first 4 arcs of the story. And it's kind of where we're seeing the Kenneteers I mean, it's called out right at the end there, right? Like they're building a system that's better than the one they came from. This is like they're building institutions which lift up the bottom members of their community so that they don't need to rely on people like Miss. Like Verona is being her own kind of Miss in a way. Like, it was funny. Like, remember how much we didn't trust Miss at the start of this story? And it's like, that's kind of what those two kids are going through in Verona's shop in this chapter.
Yeah.
And like we're seeing Lucy introduced to a new world and thriving. It's like I think this chapter is kind of showing how much better the situation is for bringing people into this world. So even where we have this icing on the cake moment for the reverse chronological thing of the story where it ends with another bloody murder mystery, we kind of get it explicitly explained to us that's like, no, it's going to be more okay now because we've got institutions that are vigilant and actually going to cope with this, hopefully.
Yeah.
So hopefully that worked in audio form. I know that was like a lot of blabbing.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think some of them work more strongly than others, but I do like it as a thematic series of links. I think it's really good.
Yeah, and I don't know, it kind of helped me divide the story up in my head now. I can kind of see, I think it kind of works to chop Pale up into those 6 segments. And I think internally in my head, I'd already been doing about half of them. Like I think, arcs 1 to 4 is the initial part, then 4 to 8, Blue Heron, 9 to 13, Return to Kennet and Summer Break, and then 14 to 17, the fight against Mossa. Like, those are all already sort of there in my head, and I think that's why it naturally kind of felt like you can map those to each epilogue in a fun way.
Yeah. I do really like it. I think it works pretty well.
What I'm really worried about now is that I just spent ages explaining that, and hopefully nobody else mentioned anything like this in the reflecting episode that was recorded today.
That's recorded tonight, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it's already been recorded. They've recorded before us.
I see.
So yeah, hopefully I didn't just steal someone's thunder.
We'll see. Well, there's one more chapter, Elliot. I was looking back at our notes for some prep for APU2, and I saw that right before we talked about Blood Run Cold, we also talked about the About page.
Yep.
And similarly, now, after we've talked about the final chapter, we should also quickly cover Beyond the Pale, I guess.
Yeah, our last bit of extra material
for the live stream there, BT Dubs, but anyway.
I don't think we can take creative ownership of Beyond the Pale.
I think we can. But anyway, the plot summary of this chapter is Wildbow reflecting on Pale and what's next. I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel
this
like...
is, sorry, if we're going to... I feel like the bit should be that this is an extra material. It's the glorious return of extra materials.
It's an extra material. So Verona talks about Pale and what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, this was great to read.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly we should say about it.
I just had 2 things I wanted to say. First one is I don't know, is I guess just saying we kind of already knew roughly the general plans for like what's next for the other verse and stuff, but it's kind of fun to just get a bit of some essays coming up, then a well-deserved break. Well done.
Yes.
And then diving into Pyre, I guess.
Well, I think Plex gets specifically called out as something that Wildbow still has some chapters and might want to explore more.
Right. Yes.
So that might even happen before Pyre. He also, I think, explicitly called out that he has a sci-fi serial he might want to write next.
Yeah, which would be exciting as hell. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm still hoping it's related to Sign, that Do the Right Thing story he wrote that I really liked. That was a really fun sci-fi world.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm going to be disappointed if it's not that, because it'll probably still rule. But
yeah,
I do have my fingers crossed for that one.
The other thing I just kind of want to mention though is like the post essay after Pact and the post essay after Ward both had themes in it of this was such a big undertaking and it was really draining. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Whereas this one, it really just, it made me feel nice to read about Wildbow. The reason, I mean, it's a meme that this was originally going to be a short story, but the reason that it's not is because Wildbow just loved writing it too much. Like, that's actually just so nice. And so it's just so nice to read a story that has so much love put into it and it is so beloved by the author as was being written. Like, you could feel the passion and energy, and it was just a really good story.
Yeah,
like sad that it's over.
I am too. It's like I think I don't want to talk about it because obviously we can't really talk about Pact here, and I think we've talked about it in the past. But like,
and we'll also probably talk about some of this stuff in the interview that we'll be doing with Wildbow during All Packed Up 2, duffmedia.com/All Packed Up 2.
But yeah, there are certain aspects of the end of Pact in particular where I could sort of feel that Wildbow was ready to wrap it up, whereas like Pale almost kind of feels the opposite. Where like I don't know, I think Wildbow was ready to end it, but at the same time, it's like it definitely ended on its own terms.
Yeah,
it is good.
Yeah.
Selfishly, a small part of me is like, it's like, it sucks that this is the one that was so good and all that, because I am not necessarily. I just feel like I'm just a guy. Like there are better qualified people to have covered this story. It's like if you were gonna write your best one yet, I wouldn't have picked doing this job, I guess. But it's just Pale was so good, and it's weird that it's over now.
Yeah, it is, but it's over. Yeah.
God, yeah. Should we get into our Pale predictor?
Yeah, we've got some predictions from the community on what's going to happen next. So,
I actually do. I did pull out a prediction.
I also
know you've
pulled out a
Reddit
prediction.
Comment.
No, mine's a prediction. Yeah, from Bella Carl.
Great. Okay, well, I've put out a prediction from Waffle Shot, and I am assuming this was made a little over a week ago. But they've said in the final 3 years later epilogue, all 3 of the girls will die or be fate worse than death.
I could see that happening.
It's not normal to pull out
an incorrect prediction.
Incorrect prediction, but like that's because I don't want to focus on the fact that this was wrong. I want to focus on the fact that like fuck you if it was right. Like Waffle Shot, not to just call you out, but like who hurt you? Like why would you predict this unless you're going for like a rookish tactic of predicting something knowing you're bad at predictions? In which case, that is the only acceptable. Like why would you say this, Waffle Shot?
Just trying to stir shit and cause blood, darkness, and fire.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, but I got my eye on you, Waffle Shot. You sicko.
Yeah. My prediction is from Beleg Tal, who predicts that after the epilogue arc, there will be a single post-epilogue chapter from Louise's perspective called Blood Run Cold 0.Z. So,
sure.
Not disconfirmed yet, and possibly can never be deconfirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would be mad just because we don't have time to cover another chapter. That it would be weird to do All Packed Up 2 without having covered all the chapters. This does remind me of my favorite prediction that's ever been made in the Wildbow fandom was, do you remember that person who after Ward ended was predicting that it was only half done?
No, I don't remember that.
There was this person, surely, does somebody in the chat remember this? There was a person who was predicting that the end of Ward was actually only the halfway point. It was going to switch POVs to the sister of the other POV, and there was going to be a whole second half that redeemed a certain character, and it was very funny. It was top tier tinfoil because it was nonsense. Yeah. And, so good. I can't believe you don't remember that, Rupert. It was great.
No, the only prediction I remember is the One Tree Hill. What was it? One Tree Hill prediction, where people thought that Sherlock, the final season of Sherlock, was fake, and there was going to be an additional episode.
Yeah, this was the same kind of copium. Like Ward ended, and this person was like, "I didn't like the way they handled this one character, so they decided that Wildbow was getting set up to write 2 million more words to redeem that character."
Oh god, I'm afraid to ask. That character.
Yes,
it wasn't Amy, was it?
Yes,
no! Oh no!
That was the best part.
Because
they were a huge stan of that character, and this was their way to see them redeemed.
Yeah, the second half would have been from Amy's perspective.
Yeah.
Let's just say they would have been right the whole time. Yikes. Anywho, thanks for joining us, folks. Now, we are going to go back to 2 Pact briefly after this. If you don't remember what that means, it means after the outro, we're going to mark Pact spoilers and we'll talk about Pact stuff for a bit. But for those of you who haven't read Pact, you have a week now before All Packed Up 2, All Paled Up Beyond the Pale. which is our live stream. So read Pact and then contribute to APU2. Go to doofmedia.com/contribute and submit your fan art nominations for the fan art awards. Not fan art that you've made, let's just clarify, fan art that you like in a variety of categories, because we'll be picking the best pieces of fan art. So submit your fan art there.
Yes. We aren't running a discussion question, but you can just chuck comments on stuff you want to see in All Packed Up 2 in the discussion thread, and hopefully we could fit some of them in, or we've already got some planned. I don't know.
Or you can leave your thoughts on what story you want to see us cover week by week next, and we'll just do the most upvoted one in the discussion thread, I guess.
Oh my God.
So do that.
Yeah, that's a promise.
That's a promise that Elliot is making to you, audience. Hey, check out our Twitter at x.com/PowerFactCast.
Oh, I just wish
I don't even know if that's
die.
Right.
Anyway, who knows anymore?
Check out doofmedia.com/APU2 for more APU stuff. And thanks to our patrons for allowing us to have money that we don't know what to do with other than spend on cool community-driven content and giveaways and stuff for All Packed Up 2. So,
we've ended up with more money than we expected because the podcast has gone on, but so we're spinning
almost
all
of it is just going into giveaways and things.
Yeah, pretty much. Like
hiring commissions for art for things and all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much the rest of the budget is, we're looking at it now and it's like, okay, what extra giveaways can we do? And that's thanks to our patrons. And speaking of patrons and stuff, obviously patreon.com/Wildbow. I'd even argue now is the most important time to Patreon Wildbow because he's taking his first break in 10 years, and we need to encourage this. So everybody go up your donation or something. Let's make it clear that this is a good fucking idea.
Yes. Support Wildbow taking a break.
Yeah, pretty much. I think, he shouldn't have to feel pressure to publish a chapter or two every week to maintain money.
Yes.
And let's demonstrate that.
Yeah. And now, Elliot, for the final time, why don't you hit us with that classic sign-off that we hear every single week?
Girl, being with you is more intoxicating than guilty.
And without acknowledging that, let's go back to Pact, shall we? I want to talk about blood, fire, and darkness, Elliot, because I saw some of this in the Discord. Fire explicitly called out as hellfire. How is that not Pact? It has to be Pact. Are you telling me that Pyre is going to be more demonic than Pact?
Yeah, that was the weird thing. So I thought the setup was that darkness is Pact. I thought the implication might be that we've already had, and then fire is Pyre, and with the specific note that it's hellfire, which is okay, so it's fire, but also there's going to be some demon shit in there.
Yeah, and in fairness, Pyre is obviously a very fire. I mean, it rhymes, so obviously there's a link there. But it's just funny to me, how is Pact not the hellfire story? Blood is pale, that obviously works.
There wasn't that much fire. It was very much the side of demons that was just darkness.
Demons. Yeah, I guess you're right. So what is hellfire if not demons?
Much more... Pact was demons in the corner and falling to the abyss.
Sure.
And that sort of thing. Whereas Pyre is demons unleashed on cities, is maybe my thinking there. This is much more out in the open. This is, darkness was the shit hidden under the covers. Whereas Pyre, I'm expecting is,
So you're saying that we're finally going to get to resolve the longest lingering plot thread, which is that moat that got sent off, that demonic moat that has never been resolved.
Which one? Because are you talking about Poe's?
No.
Or Ur's three babies?
Yeah, exactly. The moats of Ur.
Yeah. Yes. No, I'd love for the three moats of Ur to show up again. Poe's one again is still out there somewhere as well. I'd love to see that little fucker again.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Oh,
I mean, I just know we're not gonna get any Blake, and that's fine. He's done. He's living his best life. But
I'll be mad if we don't get any Rose though.
Oh yeah, I gotta say, we got to get Rose.
She doesn't have to be a POV character or anything, but
yeah.
I'm kind of assuming Mags is very likely to be a POV.
Yes, of course.
And if Mags,
the blood, fire, and darkness is explicitly a Mags thing, right?
Oh, and let's be honest. Podrick is probably involved in what just happened to Gerhild, right? Like, if anybody has stolen the blood, fire, and darkness, it has to, like, it's so funny if that's Podrick. Like, like
I'm expecting Brizoban and Podrick Evan Keller to be like, best buds.
Yeah. Like, because I guess this is I saw Mags as being integral to Pyre, because on top of thematical expectations, it's but just between her shit with Podrick and her shit with Gerhild, it was like, how can she not be in the middle of this clusterfuck? And now that's just sort of been streamlined, and now we've got who I presume is Podrick or a Podrick affiliated Fae, sitting on both, like, all the shit that she has history with him with, and now he's got the blood, fire, and darkness in his back pocket. Like, it's gonna pop the fuck off.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I mean, exciting stuff. So can't wait to see that in a while.
Sorry, with these future stories, I'm gonna be really interested to see how Wildbow decides to do the continuity. So for something like Plex, I could see Plex being requires Pale but doesn't require Pact. But like, surely, like, it'd be interesting if, like, when Pyre drops, presumably Pyre's going to be the one that's like, sorry guys, but you have to have read all of them, and, like, hopefully by then we'll have a couple more chapters of Poke too, because Poke is weirdly the connective tissue at the moment. Like, what I love about the current setup is, like, Ben and Dee are actually the thing that link Mags to Kennet, right? Like, most directly.
So you're, like, saying they're going to be the protagonists of Pyre?
I fucking love that. Poke just transitioned into Pyre.
I would love that too.
I'm so excited for Jenny and Malia to hit that. Like, I mean, it's kind of our fault that they haven't started covering Poke yet, because we've been making them 2 episodes of our show. But I just can't wait for Malia to friggin' hit Poke. Like, she's going to lose her mind. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, should I do a Pact-based pickup line to send us off from here too? I mean, again, this is my last chance to do this shit.
Let's do it.
I've already done my best.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay. So this one was written by Jenny. So just, direct all complaints / praise
hate mail,
to her. Damn boy, are you the barber? Because after I look in your eyes, I'm possessed by you.